Today we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing rational expressions. And what we're going to do is we're going to factor, then we'll cancel, then we'll multiply or divide. And we always need to check restrictions when we're multiplying or dividing and we have variables in our denominator. So let's begin with practicing just a plain fraction here. I have 6 over 8 times 24 over 2x. And I'm going to multiply this, and I remember how to cross cancel. So I'm going to say, in this case, 2 goes into 6 3 times, 2 goes into 8 4 times. And I can say 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 24 12 times. Okay, so I've reduced it a little. Can I reduce it any more? Well, I could say that 4 goes into 4 once, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. So what I'm left with is, on my numerator, 3 times 3, which is 9. And in my denominator, this canceled down to 1, and I have just plain x. So I've reduced it down to 9 over x. Now, we do have to worry about our restrictions. So in my original problem, I have 8 in my denominator here and 2x. So what I need to do is make sure that x is never equal to 0. Okay, so let's do another one. In this case, we have 3 over x times 5 over x squared. And I can't reduce anything here, but let's just take a look at our restrictions first of all. I have x and x squared, so x cannot be equal to 0. And then what I'm going to do is just multiply my fractions. Multiply the numerator, 3 times 5, which gives me 15, x times x squared, which gives me x to the third. So my answer is 15 over x to the third, but x cannot equal 0. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply something a little bit more involved. I have x plus 3 over x times x minus 5 over x plus 2. And I'm going to multiply that. And if I take a quick look at it, I don't see anything that's going to simplify. So I'm just going to multiply. But before I go to multiplying, let's take a look at my denominators. So in this case, x cannot equal 0, because that would make that denominator go to 0. And in this case, x plus 2 cannot be 0, which would mean x cannot be negative 2. And then what I'm going to do is just multiply. So x plus 3 times x minus 5 would just be x plus 3 times x minus 5. And my denominator would be x times x plus 2. And that's all I can do for that one. Now I have this long multiplication problem, and I'm going to, give factoring a try for the polynomial there. But before I do that, I do want to check my restriction. So in this case, my restriction could be 4x minus 6 cannot be equal to 0. If I add 6 to both sides, divide by 4, I get x cannot be 6 over 4, which means x cannot be 3 over 2. So I'm going to do that with my first piece here. And now I'm going to take a look at my problem and see if I can factor anything. So my first part here, 2x minus 14, I can factor a 2 out of there, and it becomes 2 times x minus 7. In the bottom, I can factor a 2 out of there, 2, and I get 2x minus 3. Okay, and my 2's will cancel out there. And then what I have is 6x squared minus 13x plus 6. I have to use my factoring skills, and I will factor, and it will become 3x minus 2 times 2x minus 3. Now this will be over 1 since there's no denominator there. So when I multiply these, I'm going to take a look and see, can anything cancel out? Well, I have 2x minus 3 on the bottom here, 2x minus 3 on the top there. Those two can cancel out. And that leaves me a denominator of 1 here and a denominator of 1 there. And the only thing left is x minus 7 times 3x minus 2. So my answer is x minus 7 times 3x minus 2. But again, I have to say I can never have x equal to 3 over 2. Okay, so let's take a look at some more problems. We're going to try dividing. And dividing, remember, is just we keep the first fraction. We change the division to multiplication, and we use the reciprocal of the second term. So we have to remember to always use the reciprocal for our problems. So my first one is like a fifth grade problem here. 3 over 4 divided by 1/2 is 3 over 4 times my reciprocal of 2 over 1. So now I could say, well, 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice, that cancels. And what I'm left with is 3 over 2. There was no variable in my denominator, so I don't have any restrictions there. So now what I'm going to do is take a look at my next one that has a lot of variables in it. And I'm going to start with x over x plus y. And I'm going to change it to multiplying. And I'm going to use the reciprocal. So over here, this is in my denominator. I'm going to move that to the top. And what's in my numerator is xy. That goes to my denominator. So I kept the first fraction, changed this to multiplication, and used the reciprocal of the second fraction. So what I'm going to take a look at here is, can anything cancel? Well, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add parentheses here just to remind myself that that whole denominator has to stay together, that whole numerator has to stay together. And when I do that, I can see that this piece cancels and this piece cancels. I have an x on the top, x goes into x once, x goes into x once, and now everything has canceled and I'm left with 1 in my numerator, and everything canceled here except y in my denominator. Okay, so we're going to try some problems of multiplying and dividing now.